Hey guys, we've got a fun show of Shift and Steer. Everybody's chiming in on our video chat, and we're going to talk to our new best friend. He's building the happiest place on earth. He's doing the Concourse Club in Miami. What do you guys think of that?
I think that's definitely a fun place to be at.
It's going to be fantastic. Wait till you guys hear about this place. Before we get started, let's give a little shout out to our friends over at Geico. You know, maybe you rent your home or you own your home. It doesn't really matter. But you know what you can do now is you can bundle your policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. And that's a good thing because you already have so much to do around your home already. Just go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Just visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.
I wish my whole life was Geico easy.
Yeah.
All right, let's get this show going, man.
Yeah.
Hey, it's another Shift and Steer, and I got somebody right here, right there. That's Aaron. Down there, that's Matt. Hey, you know what, guys? I'm done with it. No more of this day 5, day 10, day crap. It's Day Laguna Seca. I'm going to name them from now on after great racetrack. It just makes it seem better.
There you go.
Just makes it seem
There
better.
you go.
So how you guys doing?
I'm good. How are
Hanging
you?
in there.
Doing okay, man. You know, just getting through day by day, trying to keep all my wheel customers happy. And you know, but you know what? We've had enough gloom to go with the doom, so it's all doom and gloom. So I'm trying to stay good. No, we've had so much rain. I don't know what it's like other parts of the country, but I know, Aaron, you've had just tons of snow up there still, right?
Yeah, actually, it dusted a little bit last night, but I think we're on the up and up. Today's supposed to be 50, tomorrow 52, and you know, we've got some days of like less than an inch, but hopefully we're done for the season. Just have a little rain because we're over it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be spring, man. Hey, Matt,
I know.
I'm really curious. I keep seeing on the news that LA is like a ghost town. Is it really?
No, it's not really.
That's
not
just
really.
the street they went and found that it was blocked off or something, right?
Business as usual.
Definitely significant reduction in people on the roads and the freeways. And the air, like we said before, cleaner than it's ever been, but don't be fooled. Like you walk outside and there's cars on the road. There's people in line at the grocery stores, at the CVS, and you know, you can get like food delivered, but you can't get groceries delivered, like Amazon Fresh stuff. It's just so backed up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's so backed up. You can never find like a window, like there's that delivery window, and you just check for days and days and days. So then you have to like mask up and everything and get in line at the grocery store. But the weird thing out here is I did that, got in line, went into the grocery store, and I felt like there was more people in the store than there has ever been before. I don't know how they're regulating this, but the store was packed. It was absolutely packed. And I was like, I don't understand what the line is for outside. It's supposed to be limited to like, I don't know, 50 or 100 people in the store at the same, but the place was packed.
Well, I'm still amazed. I went out yesterday too. We hadn't shopped in 2 weeks. So finally my wife and I said, we got to go out. And so we masked up, we put touch it safe finger covers on, you know, we did the whole thing. See how I slid that in? But no, and I expected a big line because they're saying how they're limiting. There was no line. There were quite a few people in the store, but I'm still amazed at why things are on the shelves. I mean, you know, it's like there's still no paper products. There's still limited meat. There's still limited milk, you know, and things like that. And the other thing I noticed is nothing's on sale anymore. They don't put anything on sale anymore. But and I read an article, and it makes sense, but it still kind of blows me away, is that the average family eats out 30% of their meals in America. And so now when all those families are at home, it just obliterates everything at the grocery store because it's a whole different dynamic. And it's weird how we go through life and never even realize this stuff or never look at it. And then all of a sudden realize that, wow, one little thing can change everything so much.
You know, the other thing I noticed out here is there's been a lot of talk of how this is going to destroy the restaurant industry, but I'm seeing more and more restaurants. Maybe they're all just a little bit higher end, you know, steakhouses and stuff that we have out here, all over social media, taking pictures of the food that they're making, the deliveries that they're lining up, hundreds of orders. You know, out here we have Sugarfish. It's a sushi restaurant. It's usually pretty popular. It's got kind of a preset menu. You could just pick, like, you could do it a la carte, but they usually just have one or two preset menu things. I called them last week, and they said,
"Hey, sugar."
Yeah. And I said, "Hey, I want to make an order." They said, "It's going to be an hour and 15 minutes. We have 100 orders ahead of you."
Whoa.
And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, they're paying their rent, I guess."
Yeah, no kidding.
And a lot of the restaurants that a lot of the restaurants that have extra food at the end of the day, everything gets donated. So now they have their chefs are basically usually in the afternoon and the evening, cooking for all of the takeout orders. And then some of them come in early and just make tons of meals for donations.
Oh, that's cool.
And you know, and I guess if for the restaurants that can afford to do that, they're doing it. But I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of them taking takeout.
I wonder if this will change some of the restaurant dynamic forever, where people just go,
I would think so.
"Hey, my favorite restaurant was delivering. Why can't you just keep doing it? And then we'll just, you know, whenever we want."
That's a tough one. I think people are so antsy to get outside. Like we're gonna have a hard time getting a table. Yeah.
First thing we're doing.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
we're going out.
We haven't even touched on it, but we have a guest today. Aaron Weiss from the Country Club. What's the
Concourse Club?
Concourse Club, which is an automotive country club. Now, I think all of us have been out to Thermal in Palm Springs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them popping up. But I see Aaron is in the waiting room right now. Should we bring him in and talk to him?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Or should we just leave him there?
Wait a little longer.
Let's bring him in right now.
Yeah,
depends if it's a nice waiting room or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Aaron, how are you?
Let's see if we get his audio working. Make sure his audio is not
Aaron?
muted.
Yeah, here I am.
There you go.
Thanks for joining us today on Shift and Stare. We had the show going. We saw you in the waiting room. Said, why leave him sitting waiting?
I appreciate that.
How is it in Miami? Is that where you are right now?
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit north of there, in suburbs of Miami, but it's I think probably strangely quiet, like everywhere else. Roads are empty. Strange scenario, I think, for all of us. Completely unprecedented. Not ideal when you're in the middle of construction of a major motorsports country club facility, but I think this is less than ideal for everyone in the world. So we're in a little bit of a bubble.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit. You're building out. I don't think it's open yet, right? You're building the Concourse Club. It's a membership facility. We were referencing Thermal out here in Palm Springs. It's basically well, you can explain it better than I can, but out here we have Thermal, which is basically several tracks, racing tracks, different configurations on a single property, and there are some places to store cars, as well as some like high-end kind of condo complexes with some nice garages and stuff that members can use or purchase or rent or or whatever. But for those of you that haven't seen this type of stuff before, it's pretty cool. It's pretty impressive. When Goldberg and I have gone out to Detroit for the Roadkill Nights event the past few years, we go to M1, and we met with the owner there, and he gave us a tour of several of the condos. Some of the owners there opened their doors to us and built out wildly different. One is just built out as sort of a tavern, and it's wood with beer on tap and just kind of a fun hangout for him and his friends. And then one was just built out as just like a luxury condo. It just has like a loft with a bedroom, and then down below is like a living room and cars. It's pretty amazing stuff. And a lot of them have balconies and rooftops to overlook the racing tracks as well. So we got to experience that at M1. Tell us about the Concourse Club and what you guys are doing there.
So look, I think the concept is no longer that new, although I think I've reached an age where I've seen it developed all along and understand how the industry's kind of worked along. I've had the unique pleasure of working at a couple of these places, so I really understand the model well. Thermal's a fascinating one for sure. I think the key to the thermal model was that real estate purchase. So, you have a house that's right on the side of the course, which is great. M1's kind of gone another way with it. They really went for the garage community. I think it's one of the very few where you can actually have a garage without being a member of the course in any way. I used to work at Monticello in upstate New York, which is another great one that's kind of a unique blend. But what we've done at the Concourse Club is completely unique, and it's unique in our location. So most of these other facilities are a significant drive from some area, major or secondary metro. The Concourse Club is the first of these motorsports country clubs anywhere in the world that's a 20-minute drive from a major metro and has 12 months a year of operation. So while we also have a car storage garage component in it, as well as some event center stuff, the usage patterns for a private member we think are going to be completely different than anywhere else. I mean, you can't go to any of these other clubs for a quick lunch, a couple laps, and make it back to work. At the Concourse Club, you can. If you work in downtown Brickell, you can leave for lunch 10 minutes early, make it out to our club, take your buddies for a couple laps, have a really nice lunch. We have an amazing restaurant on site, by the way, and still make it back to work in a day. So we think that access is going to make it significantly different.
How do you make that happen essentially within a city? Do you have to have sound restrictions or a limitation on how many cars are on the track at the same time? Is it a little bit like Laguna Seca with some sound restrictions? Because, like even out here, we have airports, Burbank and Orange County, where you can't fly after a certain time at night because you're flying over people's houses.
So the short answer is just a great location. Our founder, Neil Gahani, is a professional real estate developer and did a phenomenal job finding this piece of land. And we are actually located at an airport. We are inside the grounds of the Opa-locka Executive Airport. So we abide by the same noise restrictions that the airport does. That said, you hit on it. I think a lot of it's just being a responsible neighbor. I mean, this is not the type of facility where you're going to have a lot of guys running really purpose-built stuff with wide open pipes. I think if you've been out to Thermal, you've seen this is a great location if you're a supercar collector or you're just into sports cars. And the vast majority of the stuff that's going to be running on our course is using the same pipes and mufflers and exhaust systems that they're using on the street. In addition, we did put up some accommodations. We have a complete sound wall around the facility. And the course was designed with that in mind, understanding, on three sides, we've got airport. So, and we were careful about aligning the course. So hopefully we don't get too much into the residential areas.
And what you hit on, Aaron, that's exciting is that 20-minute drive, because you're right. When I've been out to Thermal, you have to plan an entire day because of the trip out, the trip back, the time there, and usually spend the night in Palm Springs. Where what you're talking about, that's way better than the stress ball I have on my desk. Is if I could go do some hot laps, that'd be way better.
Yeah. And the track design is beautiful. I'm looking at it on your website now, and the concourseclub.com, and man, that looks really, really good. You got a couple couple good straights and some long banking turns, and then a lot of real tight technical stuff.
Yeah, we got a really unique design. So the designer of the track's actually the same guy who designed Thermal, Alan Wilson.
Oh.
And he has a young designer working for him, a West Coast guy named Bryce Englehart, who was a driver himself, who's really done a great job on the course. And we really looked at some of the things that we love about courses that have flow, which is a term that you'll hear every driver and every racer talk about, but actually trying to figure out how to quantify what flow is a really fascinating thing. And the way we approached it was, I think, different than a lot of others. We actually had our entire course built in a simulator before we ever put a shovel in the ground. We drove thousands of laps, and from those laps, we generated data, the same data that we look at that are coming off of cars in the physical world. And then, you know, we were able to actually look at the time distance trace data from courses and corners that we love and compare those to what we had, and able to taper and move our design and modify it to try and achieve that flow, which we all love, but it's really hard to put your finger on. So the other thing we wanted to do was, you know, we have some of our founding members who are incredibly experienced, who are regular competitors, and we have a whole bunch of guys who aren't. So I wanted to have a course that was both entertaining for people who have experience and challenging, but also gave us the opportunity to have an area to really teach the base skills. You know, a lot of guys develop their driving schools in these motorsport country club environments, and they go on to be a lot of the gentleman drivers that you're watching in professional series. And I felt strongly in working with our chief driving instructor, John Brannon, we really put a program together, and we feel strongly that when we see our logo on a guy's suit on TV, we want to see him standing on the podium. So we've really gone far to tailor it. We're using a bunch of technology, and we're really putting we ourselves are students of the sport. It's the kind of thing that, you know, I've been working on for 20 years, and I still have a lot to learn. And we wanted to put together a course and an infrastructure that can help support these guys in a learning environment. So I think when you look at that too, you might notice there's 7 possible layouts we can run as well, which are unique.
Are there any elevation changes on your tracks?
So not easy to find any elevation in Florida, but you know, you're never going to be able to build the Nürburgring in Florida, but we were able to bring in a bunch of fill. So we were able to put in a hill that is about 5 feet high, which, you know, by Florida standards is where I'm going to stand if the tsunami comes.
I was going to say, that's a mountain out there.
So your base is in that 5 feet means sea level.
Exactly. But interestingly, you know, I mentioned the young designer, Bryce. What he really did that I thought was unique is he understands from a driver's standpoint the importance of sight lines. So he was able to use this little bit of elevation to take away your sight lines in certain places. So it doesn't create the feeling of coming under the bridge at Road Atlanta and the whole world falls away and you're just, you know, hoping it lands on something that's hard. We don't have that, but what we do have is when you're approaching the corner, we have our fastest corner, the kink you see on our top straight. You can't physically see that apex from the turning point. So we use that, you know, taking that sight line away to create a little bit more of that anxiety and that, which is really the fun part. So we don't have a lot of elevation. We used a little. We were also able to use that to create a little bit of banking and some grade in certain areas. So a couple of our corners are actually much faster than they appear on the track map, because if you get down to the apex, you get really good compression in there, and it's going to be a fun course.
Now, what about some of the other attributes? I mean, usually, and I'm sure yours is no different, there has to be some diversions, a place to eat, place to drink, some other, you know, accoutrements like that. What else is at the facility?
So one of the things that we've been speaking about is when you're 20 minutes from a city and you have people who are out here regularly, the level of entertainment quality has probably got to be different. You know, when you're 2-3 hours from a major city and people are at the course, so you have a restaurant on site, that's a captive audience. They're going to eat what you serve them. We've all been there. You know, a couple too many trackside corn dogs for me, as you can tell. But we really wanted to create a different level experience. And we even had some of our founding members come back and say, look, with your location and the type of business we do, you know, we're at a private airport. A lot of guys will fly in for a business meeting and find a space at the current airport to have a meeting and then fly back out. So understanding that flow, we went ahead and partnered with a local restaurateur named Brad Kilgore. This guy's incredibly talented. Number one key, he's also a car guy, which I love. Yesterday, he's sending me pictures of a 1,200 horsepower small block they're putting together for some Camaro. The guy's a car guy, which is great, but he's also an incredibly astute chef and very successful. He runs a couple of really trendy, foodie restaurants in Miami that are really catered to our clientele. I think one's called Alter, another's called Ember. And so we partnered with him, and we are putting in a full service restaurant at the site. It is not open to the public. It is only open for our members. We may expand on that a little bit in the future and offer some meals around the airport in that area in the future. But in the early days, it'll just be for our members, and it's super high level. So we're in the process of building him a kitchen right now. It's a full service kitchen. The other thing that that's going to allow us to do is in our next phase, once we have our membership signed on and we've established our kind of member usage patterns, it's really important for us that the members get first crack at our facility. There is not a motorsport country club anywhere that doesn't bring in some degree of outside events for a variety of reasons. I know Thermal actually has the BMW Center on site. So, making that determination of where your priorities are in early days and building your business model to accommodate both those things is something we've taken really seriously. So once we have that member pattern understood and we realize where our extra inventory is, we actually are going to mix in some outside events. And to accommodate that, we've actually brought in a big Italian design firm who is building us an event center building. And the segue back, Brad's restaurant will be able, our kitchen there and Brad's services will be able to do the catering for that facility. So if you were a manufacturer who wanted to do a car launch, or a high-end manufacturer who wanted to launch cars either to press or to consumers, end users, whatever that may be, we're going to be ideally positioned. I mean, in the winter, we're one of very few tracks that's open anywhere in the world. We are at the grounds of at a private airport and 9 miles up the road from Miami International Airport. We're 20 minutes from countless hotels, a variety of housing options, anything you can imagine. And with this level of food service, I anticipate I will see all of you there at some point. I think it'll become a real mecca for that kind of stuff.
Well, that was my next question is if we can't afford the buy-in, is there an opportunity for us to indulge in some track time and food?
It will be limited as media guys for sure, but we've been really careful about curating the list of members. We sold out all of our founding members before we were even done construction. They're
fantastic. Good for you.
Our market is really unique. We're going to build some high-end villas as well as some very nice storage garage options. And Miami's a unique market in that a lot of the really high-end real estate in Miami is located on the water and has a shortage of parking. Even some of these super posh automotive themed and designed buildings that are along the water, you can buy a multi-million-dollar apartment and it comes with 2 parking spots. And as every proper car collector knows, the right amount of cars is X plus 1, with X being the amount that you currently own. So we had a lot of guys just come out and say, look, I don't have a lot of course driving experience, but I want to learn, but I really want to have a place where I can store my cars. So we had a lot of guys buy memberships just so they can get a garage. And, I'm particularly attuned to this and have really tried to tweak the operation to do some unique stuff that nobody else has done. We had so many guys come in with hypercars. And these are guys who have, amazing cars that they want to experience on a track, but it's not necessarily the kind of car you would really want to take out there and flog around for a whole day. You don't want to rack up the miles. And they're the kind of cars where, let's say, a rock chip on the bumper of a Spec Miata, you don't even blink. A rock chip on the bumper of your Bugatti Chiron is a much more serious issue. So we've actually gone out of our way to schedule days where you can just run in a supercar in lower traffic days where you're not going to have a lot. We've even gone beyond. We bought a bunch of equipment that they use at airports. We have these things called foreign object debris removal mats. So we're actually going to drag mats across our course to pick up the marbles and the debris on the track instead of just sweeping it to the side. So by doing that, we're going to keep the track pristine. So there will be days when a lot of people get out there and are running, you know, cage street cars in more of a competitive environment and chasing times. But there will also be times when you can get out there and run, you know, supercars. What about vintage cars? If you're a pre-war vintage car owner these days, where do you run a car like that?
Nowhere.
Yeah. What happens when Aaron's car leaks oil on the track?
What? What? Hey, it's oil and coolant.
Oil and coolant and fuel. But you hit on
the one I
something.
worry about.
You really did hit on something here, because in a real world experience, a buddy of mine bought a Lamborghini Aventador SV, took it out to thermal, and he was flabbergasted afterwards. And I had warned him at just doing like maybe 20 laps how many rock chips he had. And I said, I told you you needed, you know, to put a clear bra on it.
PPF,
Got it fixed. Got a clear bra for the next time. People don't realize how much at speed, especially hot tires, throw everything up at you.
Yep.
So we even went to the extent where we partnered with a local detailer. It's got an amazing reputation. It's called Image Premium Detailing. They're actually going to have a location on site, and one of the things they're developing are daily use PPF kits.
Yeah.
It's a thicker material with less adhesion, so they don't, you know, it's not something you want to put on the car and leave there for a year, but we'll literally be able, if you register beforehand, you'll come in the morning. When you come into the facility, you can come on in and have breakfast. While you're having breakfast, we'll throw the PPF on your car. We'll get it ready for you and bring it out there for the day. And at the end of the day, while you're in the locker room taking a shower and sticking around for dinner, sorry guys, at the end of the day, we'll go ahead and peel that PP off, detail your car, and have you ready to go. Fuel it up and have you ready to go back on the
spray it on, peel it off. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's good that there's a couple of solutions like that. So it sounds like you're overtaking Disney World on building the happiest place on earth. What sort of membership prices should people expect? There's going to be different levels, and of course, villas you can buy or rent, but where do we start? How do you get in the door?
So the early memberships were all invite only, which was unique. We actually curated the list of who we wanted to be members, and we only took referrals from other founding members, and we kept a very tight group. And we had a membership committee. We went through that group. We really wanted to make sure that the guys who were in our core were like-minded guys. So as I said, we sold those out, and the sale price on those was $350. We had such a clamor when we got to the very end of those from a small group of guys who really wanted the rights to do that we released a couple more at $525, and those sold out as well. So the founding memberships are now completely sold out. We have recently opened up to another round of memberships. We're accepting applications. Those are just over 100, and they include still a lot of rights. There are some differences. And like I said, we're accepting applications for those right now.
Okay.
In order to get the real estate side, we haven't quite finished the pricing on that yet. We're working on some different options. I think some of them will be purchased, some of them will be lease, and those will only be available to members. So we're finalizing those details right now. We're actually in the design phase on a lot of that stuff as we're finishing construction on the site. We're the course is substantially complete, and you know, the other thing we didn't mention is some of the technology that's going into the course itself. It's really cutting edge. So, you know, the other side of being 20 minutes from a major metro is that you need to be poised and ready to operate at any given time. And having, you know, 15 to 20 corner workers, flaggers standing around wasn't efficient. So we've actually been successful in putting together the first ever automated flagging system. It's actually a semi-autonomous flagging system that uses some really cool tech. We use a combination of high definition pan tilt zoom cameras, and we saturated the course with timing and scoring beacons, so we know where everybody is on course within a very short window. Then instead of flags, we use electronic flag panels, the same one you guys see in F1 if you watch it on TV. And then we have a computer system that has learned all these patterns. It's actually in the process of learning every lap we run, and it can detect anomalies and automatically turn on yellow flags in certain scenarios. Yeah,
Wow.
really
That's brilliant. That's really cool. You guys are just so detail oriented. That's really impressive.
Detail oriented is exactly what we are, and there is no detail too small. And I've been really lucky to get to obsess on this. It's my dream. It's my dream course. I mean, really, even the runoff paint, we have no gravel traps. We have all paved runoff. We ran through over 40 different designs for runoff paint before we settled on one. And then I hired a company out of the UK who are the best of the best. They have all the F1 contracts to come in and do the painting because, the lines have to be dead straight. And even our guardrail contractor, the pitches are dead straight. We use no tire barriers on the whole course. The entire thing is that Tech Pro barrier, which is the newest, latest, greatest stuff. And to tell you the level of obsession and detail we went to, when we installed it in a lot of the places where the barrier was against guardrail on grass, the tops of it weren't quite straight, the pitches weren't quite right. So we pulled it all out and we put in concrete underneath all of that. So it sits perfectly straight and true. And we've really gone to every detail. I mean, I didn't mention too, we have the ability to run into the dusk, and Florida in the summer is a really great place to run in the evening as well. So we even did something nobody else has done, which is used a reflective paint that's normally used on airports. And we've installed reflective paint on the inside verge line of the whole course. So with any kind of minimal lighting, you can really see the entire map of the course when you're out there. So you can run in a dusk environment and still get that nighttime Le Mans Mulsanne straight feel, but still be an environment where it's much safer and you can see what you're doing and you can pick out all the brake zones and all the apexes and whatnot.
And we make so great photography.
Yeah, I have a question for you for details. So did you come up with anything for that evening sun in your eyes down the back straight?
Yeah, we've already done.
Is there a screen up on the?
Exactly. No, and honestly, we get such huge changes in where the sun is here this time of year that even when you go up to Sebring in famous Sunset Bend, it's really only horribly Sunset Bend in March when they run. Other times of year, it's not as big an issue.
Geodesic dome, so we're gonna have blackout sections in the dome.
Yeah. No, I'll take that under advisement. I think it's a good idea.
Concourse Club sunglasses.
Set up a screen of drones.
There you go.
Follow the sun around.
Yeah. I like it.
Well, this sounds exciting because I mean, Miami alone, just what a destination. Now a destination with a motorsports park like this, where it's a high-end club, but has all of everything that a motorsports fanatic could want. And as you said, what better stress ball could you have than being able to go over to the track and get a few laps in on one of those days where you're just kind of like going, so
yeah,
sounds fantastic. Where can they find anything online about this?
Go to our website, which is theconcourseclub.com. And there's a lot of information on there. Feel free to reach out to us. We really have tried to keep it as a very personal touch. So feel free to write an email and you can get directly in touch with myself or one of our membership directors. If somebody does have an interest, like I said, we're accepting applications now. Our location is really interesting. Only half the guys who've joined so far actually reside in the Miami area. It's been pretty much an even spread, which I was surprised to see that much. I mean, we have some guys who are in the Midwest and some guys who are in the Northeast. I mean, we have some guys whose plan is send some cars down here in the fall. If you're a private jet owner and you're at a Teterboro, you can meet your buddies at the airport at 7. You can land in Miami by just past 9. I can have you on the course after breakfast by 10. You can be out of there by 3 and be back home before anybody knows you were even there. So not just
the life.
Miami who should take a look. Yeah.
Is that rubber I see in your teeth?
Yeah, right.
Honey.
It's the life we all dream of, Aaron. And you
smell like,
actually,
race fuel.
One last question I wanted to ask real quick is, do you have fuel on site?
Yeah, of course. So we put in a fuel station on site, and really interestingly, there is no detail too small, which you mentioned, our attention to detail. So we even went through it where most of the places I've worked, we've ended up with an above ground tank and they're functional, but unsightly. We actually went all in and buried the tank underground, and we didn't bring in any corporate sponsorship on the fuel side. So the station it's beautiful. I mean, it's something that looks like it should be in an architecture magazine. You don't realize that you can actually make something like that really pretty when you don't have corporate sponsors and big flashy logos and whatnot. I mean, ours is all poured concrete and steel, and the underneath is a Temora wood and uplighting. It's gorgeous. And we are going to use VP to supply fuel locally. It's a great company. They have some great products. Interestingly, one of the products we're putting in, which you may or may not have heard of, is they just came out. They have a new collector car fuel, which is a 97 octane with stabilizer built into it, no ethanol.
Oh, wow.
So it's really ideal for an environment like ours, where if you got a garage full of cars, but you're not running them that often, this is the perfect solution to be able to put that in. So I'm going to have that. I'm going to have a really nice high octane non-ethanol 93, and I'm going to have MS 98, which is a really popular fuel that we run in like Ferrari Challenge cars and Porsche Cup cars. And, you know, I think there's a lot of momentum gaining. I mean, we could have an entire, probably a whole podcast discussion about how modern car engineering drove the world to move from spectator-based motorsport to participant motorsport. I mean, you can go to almost any car dealer these days and lease or buy a car that's capable of driving to a course, driving all day, and will still make it home. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, you know, there was a couple makes that would do it. That was about it. So we wanted to make sure that we had stuff available for those kinds of cars and even the more extreme ones that they're building. You know, we actually put together an entire fleet of the BMW M235 IRs, which is their factory built car. And they run on pump gas, but they're proper race vehicles. It's really pretty impressive what you can buy these days, either from a dealer or from the factory.
Yeah. Are you going to have any tire facilities there? Because I'm sure people will go through them.
Yeah. So we actually have a third-party service center located on site. We partnered with a local team called HP Tech. HP Tech specializes in the Ferrari Challenge series. They are the best of the best. And the reason we went with them is, you know, understanding there are a lot of resources in South Florida, from instructors to service shops. In the service shops, there are a lot of pro teams here, and pro teams are amazing techs, and their business is really focused on putting together a car that competes at a professional level. A Ferrari Challenge team really understands the gentleman competition side of the business, and that's who our guys are. So we really thought they were a perfect fit. So they will be on site. They have a multi-bay facility where they'll continue their existing business supporting our members. In fact, they support our founder, Neil Gahani, in Ferrari Challenge, where he won a championship last year. So he's a successful competitor himself. We have a couple other members who work with George. And in addition to that, next door, he has a full service site that's set to work on cars, and he will have tire equipment in there and tire changing machines, and we'll be able to do that on site for you as well.
So what you're saying is I should hit up George. I know all those guys. Very good. Well, if you need any automotive art, please let me know. That's what I do. Wow, what a cool! I can't wait to see this place in person, man.
Yeah, Aaron, this sounds fantastic. I've checked out the website, and thanks so much for being on the show today and taking your time. And how are things in Miami right now? I know you said quiet, but is everything safe? Everything good?
Everything's safe, good. I actually took a quick trip out to visit the site today, passed by one of the COVID testing centers, was happy to see that it looked pretty quiet there. You know, we're in a little bit of a bubble, I think. It hasn't quite hit here like it's hit other places, and I think I'm happy to see people are taking it pretty seriously. You know, some of the construction is still on site, but our offices are closed for the time being, and everybody's taking it pretty seriously right now. You know, I have noticed that the lineup is at the stores, and they're sold out of wide screens and triple monitor setups, and any desktop racing simulator thing you could get you could ever want to get your hands on is sold out now. So I think people in our industry as well are taking it quite seriously, and you know, it is what it is. We'll come through it.
That's great.
I'm ready.
You're all
there you
set.
go. You're all set. You're all set to go.
I'm waiting for my carbon stilo, but this is my workhorse right here. So I'm ready.
Right. We actually have a bunch of Steelos that we bought on site as well, because all of our cars actually using in-car streaming systems as well. See, this is careful. You guys got to be careful asking me about track tech. I'll suck up your whole pie.
Man.
So
Well, let's do a part 2 and a part 3. Maybe let's do a 6-part series on the
we could do a whole series
on the Concourse Club.
We could do a whole one just on some of the coaching technology we're going to use, including our in-car streaming systems, where instead of having an instructor sitting in the right seat, he's back in pit lane with an iPad that's a live stream camera with data to what's going on in your car. We have a built-in system that can take video of you and then overlay your video on a benchmark car, like a ghost image, so you can see what's going on there. We'll have eventually a full simulator site as well on site, so you can come out there and begin your training on the sim before you ever even go out there. You can try other cars. So we're tech guys, and we love these gadgets, and we've embraced them in every way we can.
So what you're saying is it's worth the buy-in.
It does sound like there's a lot going on. We're going to have you back so we can talk again.
Yeah.
And, now, what is the opening date scheduled for?
You know, I would have loved to have given you one before all this COVID-19 stuff happened, but right now I think it's too up in the air to give you one that I'm not confident in.
Okay, fair enough.
Right now, I think we'll definitely hit, you know, we were hoping to be open around this summer, but now I'm not sure that that's realistic. And even if we were done, I'm not sure it's responsible. So we're going to hold off and wait and see what happens with COVID. But I think at latest, you'll see us first quarter 2020.
Let me just take a crack at it, Aaron. They'll be opening in the future.
there you go.
I mean, we're substantially complete on the course. The buildings are still rolling along. We'll see what happens with this COVID and how that affects us. And, you know, I don't want to put last thing I want to do is put any members or staff in harm's way. So
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It'd be great if the members that you do have do get access now or soon to the simulation version of your track, so they can start practicing now.
Get ahead.
And start learning that track a little bit. That way they'll wreck less stuff when they actually get out there.
You know, we have so many guys who have home units that we're working on. We're redoing the models right now. We're working with GPX Lab, which is an amazing professional simulator company based here in Miami, run by a championship driver named Jeff Siegel. So Jeff's been working with us a lot on that simulator. We're getting it dialed to the point where you'll be able to either go to his lab and try our course at some point, and we'll also have versions that you can send. If a member has a home unit, we'll be able to start practicing at home. We're working on it right now.
Awesome.
That's great.
Really nice to meet you.
We got to call it. We got to call it time. But hey,
all the time. Call me back anytime. As you can tell, I have no trouble talking with you guys.
Thanks, Aaron. Just a reminder, it's theconcourseclub.com, theconcourseclub.com. You guys check it out. There's still some memberships. You can fill out the application and send Aaron Weiss all of your money.
And if you don't have anything to write down, just go to our website and we will put it on our show notes there.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks,
you guys.
Cheers. Be safe.
Have a good one. You too. Bye-bye.
So the way this goes, the one thing that he talked about was no gravel runoffs.
Yeah.
I can say that's important because the day I was out at Thermal last with my buddy with his Aventador,
yeah,
a guy went off in a brand new Aventador. It wasn't my friend, it was another guy. And this bright blue Aventador, guy was out there, man. He was all excited. And about his third lap, he went off into the gravel. And when they brought it back on the flatbed, it wasn't damaged that much, but it was just, you know,
everywhere.
The front lower, you know, spoiler, it was just like it went through like a sandblasting machine. But they were taking every one of the wheels off because you know how those have a real forward offset and a lot of rim behind, so the dishes in the back, they were literally filled with gravel. They were taking them off and pumping gravel out of them. I mean, when they unloaded the car, you could hear it going. It was.
Look, I got into the dirt years ago at the big track at Willow, and getting into the dirt and the gravel, it was fine. I got back on the track, but when I drove into the pit, it had broken the bead on between the tire and the rim, and I was getting rocks in there.
Yeah.
Right. And then, the wheel and tire guy had to like take it all apart and shake all the rocks from inside the rim. Basically,
they need a big robotic arm to grab you on the back of a train and then
basically shake
the car
it around.
turn upside down, shake it.
Anyway, so as far as the Concourse Club memberships, the stuff that he talked about, not an inexpensive deal, especially for those initial memberships. But the memberships that I believe that they have listed on their website that you can apply for, the initiation fee is, when he says 150, means 150,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's a $35,000 a year. A membership fee to do that.
I really appreciate you negotiating a free membership for all of them.
For 30 seconds.
Afford to go to Miami and use it and have a car to drive it on, we'd be set.
Yeah, we have a free membership to visit the website.
Right. Yeah,
everybody here does. We arranged it for everyone.
Yeah, it's free for everybody.
And you can pirate the simulator at.
We're going to run out of time here, so why don't we just wind the show up with talking really quick about, if you're going to go to one of these, you're going to need a supercar, and now's the time to buy one. A supercar, a luxury car. I noticed online, I saw some information that there's some deals happening. And for instance, did you know that the most heavily discounted car in America right now is, I'm going to ask Matt to give his guess, because he drove a similar car recently.
Oh, well.
Not a fun.
Okay, so it's one of two things, because I drove a Lamborghini recently and a Jeep Gladiator.
What was it?
Lamborghini. Jeeps are already discounted.
It was a Lamborghini-ator. No, it's the 2020 Lamborghini Huracan Evo. You can
Who would have thought?
It off the lot right now with a $16,000 plus discount. And that's
okay, but percentage-wise, I think the Jeep's a better deal, because they have like $9,000 discounts and they're like $50,000. So
the Acura NSX is probably the great deal right now too. They're $10,000 under the $20,000, and they're already down,
making it under $150,000 for that car. So
wow.
And if you want,
and I do like that car.
I love that car, and if you want collectability, if you're going to keep it forever, it'll probably be worth a ton of money in the future, because of the fact that there aren't a lot of them selling, so they'll have rarity on their side.
My problem with that is I enjoy driving that car too much, so I'd have too many miles on the NSX to make it collectible.
Same here.
Just sold a vintage NSX red that had been driven, had quite a few road miles, and it just went for $150,000. It was a Fittipaldi edition.
No, It was a Zanardi edition.
A Zanardi edition, excuse me.
Yeah. I got you, buddy. Don't worry, I got your back.
You should have looked in there. See, man, you had me.
Yeah, well, the Zanardi edition is worth some money, so. Yes. Maybe if you get the Dave Merrick Orange Special Edition NSX,
or the Shift and Steer Yellow.
Right. It's funny, because at Long Beach Grand Prix last year, I was driving just prior or just after that or something. Oh no, it was into Monterey. I said, "Oh, I drove the NSX. It was Dave Merrick Orange," and everyone else in Acura was like, we don't really call it that, right? And I was like, no, that's what I was told. They're like, by Dave.
Yeah, by Dave.
That's what it said on our paperwork.
who took that Bonneville orange from my watch company. But we won't.
It's all right. Yeah, it doesn't matter. All right, guys, let's wrap it up.
This is a great way. I hope you guys are liking us on Zoom. So let us know. Our first show dropped this week. Let us know if you like the sound quality from this guy right over there, the Aaron guy, and Matt, who wears his buds. And I am going to, these turned out so good, I'm going to put them up on our YouTube channel. So
Cool.
Make sure you comb your hair, and Matt, you might want to get that out of your teeth.
Yeah, should have.
You can see me touching my face a lot because I have allergies. I'm allergic to my dog.
You're not supposed to touch your face.
I know, but I'm allergic to my dog. I'm all
We should do a COVID edition where we all wear masks.
He's been so cuddly lately. He's
right,
like,
guys,
you're home. I just want to cuddle.
Where can they find Shift and Steer online?
Shiftandsteer.com, and we're at Shift Steer Media on social media. And you guys can find me at Moderator on social media. You guys have heard that before. I'm always kind of trying to post some fun stuff. Well, I just posted a car that I used to own that I don't think I've ever posted. That was my E36 M3.
Oh, I saw
my
that.
99 M3. Yeah.
I didn't see that. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I missed that car. That car was nice.
You know what? I don't know if I think I told you guys I traded my E46 in on an E36 track car, and it's getting a new head gasket. But I don't have any experience in the E36. I'm really looking forward to it. Everybody says they are just phenomenal track cars and driver experience cars.
Good. Take it to Miami, buy a membership, and you can run it.
Yeah, there you go.
No, I bought a really cheap blown head gasket car. I can't afford to.
Well, you saved your money
maybe
for
now
the
I can fly to
membership.
Miami.
That's one of the worst things. Like when you go out to Thermal and you pull in just a normal car and you see this fabulous array of cars and all these guys standing around there just like, out there. Yeah, I'm just running my car for the weekend. And you're like, wow.
That's how I felt every time I drove my E46 to the racetrack but MP3s and GT Cup cars. And I'm just like in the street car, with seat belts screwed into the floor.
Hey, Aaron, where can they find you online, buddy?
Aaron Hagar, pretty much everywhere. The Rat Runner's Garage, and I'm pretty easy to find.
Matt?
I'm home. I'm pretty easy to find.
Matt, where can they find you?
Yeah, at Moderator. I just said that.
I thought you just said okay, well, you can find me, Brad, at Bradley_Fanshaw on Instagram. Everywhere else, it's Brad Fanshaw, I think. So just Google me or whatever, you'll find it. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to Shift and Steer. And I want to say thank you for putting some comments up. We've had some new 5-star ratings and comments on Instagram, on iTunes. Please keep those going. They help us a bunch, and we need it. So thanks everybody. Stay safe, stay home, and work on your cars.
Cheers.